So next question, which is the fourth one now. What books or works of art have had an impact on you and your writing? I mean, obviously, Tolkien's Lord of the Rings is a book that impacted any fantasy author out there, and even those who say that they didn't really care for it. If you're into fantasy, and especially if you're writing fantasy, at some point, Lord of the Ring has had an impact on you one way or another. It may not be with the book itself, but definitely like the movies or the games or any other books that came out of it. Um, so it's hard to overlook this book, and it's a great book too. I mean, it deserves all the credit that it gets. But before that, I remember reading one book that had an impact on me. Was George Orwell's 1984. Um, it's not so much known right now. Strangely, some people that I speak that when we talk about books and I mention 1984 and the concept of Big Brother, everybody's familiar with Big Brother, but no one knows about the book I'm talking about. So I really, encourage you to pick it up. It's an awesome book. And 1984 was the first book that I read that really got me thinking about the message behind the words and what the author was trying to tell me. And it kind of opened my mind to other books that before I never really wanted to read, just because I thought reading was more like, it's just a leisure thing you do to get your minds off things. I don't want to think about something. I want to get my mind off things that I'm thinking all the time. And this is the way I read. But with 1984, it opened the door to other reads, basically, and other books that have a message. Other than that, I mean, I take my inspiration from everywhere, not just from reading. I'm again into any kind of art that there is, and mostly it's people that either that I know personally or people that I know by reputation that inspire me. And they can inspire me in all kinds of ways. For example, if you've probably already heard of the band the Ramones, which is a great band, but it's a band that started in 1976, I think, when punk music was just getting started in England and not so much in the United States. People, in the 70s, people were still surfing almost that hippie vibe, and I think disco, I guess, was big as well at the time. And then here comes the Ramon, and they make no compromise at all on what they want to do. I remember reading about their shows being like 17 minutes, just because they would play these minute-long song or minute and a half, very fast, very loud, and people just enjoyed it. And I think they enjoyed it because they could see the honesty in what they were doing. And that's why today you have a bunch of celebrities and musicians who always mention Joey Ramones and Johnny Ramones as an inspiration for what they do, just because it's that authenticity that they had. Most artists and most musicians or writers want to have that kind of authenticity. This is what connects with people. Other than the Ramones, there are guys like Wayne Dyer, Dr. Wayne Dyer. He is an author, more into self-help and personal development. But what impresses me about this guy, Dr. Wayne Dyer, is that he is, I think, 74, 75, and still does conference, still writes books, and still writes, all the time. And there are several people like that who the concept of not doing what they love doesn't even cross their mind. And I think it's awesome that you don't think about retirement and you don't think about what you're going to do once you're done with work. Work is a passion. Work is a part of your life. And I mean, if you can find that, if you can find something that's going to drive you till your last breath, that's an incredible feeling. I think I found it with my writing, and I really wish you guys to find it as well. And finally, one last person. I know this is taking a bit of time, I'm sorry. But one more person I want to mention. It's a local businessman here in Quebec called Dominic Brown. Dominic was the owner of a software company, a video game company called Beanox. If you're into video games, you may have seen their logo in some of the games. Can't remember which one on top of my head. But Dominic Brown, he's an incredible story. He started his company when he was young. And a few years ago, he just decided that he had done everything he wanted to do with this company. And he sold it. And then he went ahead and purchased a local ice cream parlor that was also making chocolate. And when people asked him, why did you go from this multi-million company to a small ice cream shack? He said, because it's a new challenge. I want to take this ice cream shack and turn it into a worldwide empire of chocolate. I want to conquer the world and cover it in chocolate. And he's like a few years after that now, he is well on his way of doing it. I remember reading that his goal is to have 100 million sales by 2020. So it's people like this, people who are true to themselves, people who aren't afraid, people who are passionate. These are the people that really inspire me. So, hopefully one day someone can say the same about me and I can inspire passionate people. Okay, so moving along. Sorry it took a bit of time this last one, but there's so many people that I find inspiring. Could you talk a bit about your publication process? Well, as I mentioned, I self-publish my book, and the difference between me and a lot of self-published authors is I do it in two languages. I publish in French and in English, all of my books. And the way I do things is, well, first of all, like everybody else, I do my research. I'm the kind of guy who needs to know where my story is going. I need, it's not a detailed plan that forces the story in a direction. I still allow myself some freedom as I write, but I need to have a plan. I need to know what the bad guy is trying to do, and I need to know how my hero is trying to prevent the bad guy from doing what he hopes to accomplish. So, but as you write, things change. Characters that you put in place, like in my first book, there was this character called Malloy that I had put in the book just to help my main character, Samuel, get comfortable in this new world that he found himself. And I had planned for Malloy to then just go away after that. But he just kept coming back. He just kept insisting that he had a more major role to play. And so he became one of the main character and actually one of people's favorite character as well. And he's there right till the very end of the book. So the first thing I do is I kind of plan with some wiggle room at what I'm doing. Then I write. I've written some books straight in French and some straight in English. This fourth one I'm working on, I'm writing it in English first. And the reason why I'm doing this is because, well, basically when I'm done with English, I'll write the first draft and then I'll rewrite and correct it and edit and, bring it to the best that I can do. And then I send that to an American author that I know who's also an editor, Keith Miller. And Keith will edit my book. He will correct, all the mistakes, and he will also remove things from the books that he feels are slowing the story down, make suggestions on what I should change. Generally, he will cut about 15% of the manuscript that I sent him. And while he's doing that, I'm translating from English to French. And then when he sends me the text back, I just open both the French version and his version, and then I go through all the correction that he makes, and I apply them. First of all, I approve them, and then I apply them to the French version as well, so that both my books are identical. And then the English version is done. He's corrected it, he's edited it, and now what I need to do is do the same thing with the French version. So I correct it, and I have a few people here, a few beta readers that I send it to, so they can make sure that there's no errors that slip through the floor, and they also make comments on the story. At this point, of course, I'm not going to change the entire story, but if they have, suggestion that makes sense, then I'll go back and change that. And then once I'm done, I end up with both the French and English text. Then I assemble the ebooks, the files for the print version, and I publish that on all the retailers like Amazon, Apple, and start planning my marketing. Actually, I do start planning the marketing a little bit before I publish, just so I can get the word out there. I contact amazing blog like the Howling Turtle and see if they want to make a review of my book or an interview, and then you follow through with that. I start the next book not long after I publish the previous one, but then I also, keep this marketing plan that I have going and make sure that everything goes as I want it to go. So that's my process.